Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you. So I'm going to be very quick, and I'm only going to read the last sentence of our recommendation, submit the rest as written testimony, and just make one general comment. So the last sentence says, in summary, M&A recommends the following. Catheter-associated urinary tract infection, patient falls with injury, and does not support central venous pressure-related bloodstream infections and pressure ulcer prevalence, as there is no value or significant correlation in ICU staffing. So I'll submit the written portion of it because I think they've done pretty good so far with Judy's background in the literature. And the general, just my comment is more when the issue was being discussed, in the discussions about the language of the bill, as we discussed these items, it was important to try to find something that was directly related to ICU staffing. Because what obviously the intent of this is to be able to show the relationship of hopefully creating a standard and an improvement. So if we pick things that don't have a direct correlation to ICU staffing, then we didn't garner any benefit from putting it in the law. Because the only thing that we can expect then from the outcome is we can't tell if it makes a difference or not. So that's just a general comment. And that's it, unless you have questions for me.
Do you know, I have a question, and then Paul, did you have one as well? I really understood the point about pressure ulcers. That was well taken. I'd be interested in you just elaborating a little bit more on why the first two of those quality measures would not be nursing sensitive.
Well, I won't speak to actually in terms of the research and the data. I'll leave that far more to Judy and the literature, and I think there can be any number of reasons why, whether it's the collection of the data. It's not necessarily that maybe it isn't sensitive. The issue is that when you're trying to record the data, whether you can draw the comparisons directly and reliably. So sometimes data that we're collecting, we just can't show it with consistency, and therefore it doesn't become a viable way for us doing an assessment. So those are two different things. I don't mean to sort of scurry it, but it probably is relative, but nobody's found a way to measure it in a manner that we can consistently use it for a good assessment. That's our point. So there are some things that are out there that clearly are now known to be statistically significant, acceptable, already reported, specific to the ICU. So from our standpoint, pick from the bucket, if you will, of the known items that are already collected that are directly related to ICU. And not to suggest that if down the road, these other items, there are more reliable ways over time to be able to tease that out, that they wouldn't be very good to look at, but for the time being, this is what we have, so let's draw from what's directly relative. By way of example, the central venous line catheters, there's probably in some of the ICUs direct relevance because of dressing changes, but on the other hand, nurses aren't inserting them. So there's also many other hands, if you will, in the pie that may be relative to why infections are occurring. So unless you can tease out just the nursing component relative to the staffing, is it a good tool? So those are why we sort of parse this out. So go for the low-hanging fruit is our kind of our wish, because it's important. We're doing something that's second in the nation here. It's really important to us that we draw from things that we can at least say something with a degree of confidence.
Paul?
Well, I just want to say I appreciate the thoughtfulness of your recommendation. I agree that if there's literature, or at least some literature, maybe quality, good literature supports that this is important to measure in the ICU context, as it relates to staffing, that's where our measures ought to go. And so that's what I'm hearing you say. And so I think you're absolutely right.
It was 3 to 5, and frankly, from our standpoint, it's sort of a broad 3 to 5, because the issue was get the ones that are directly related so we have something to measure. The worst possible scenario is we come out of this and there's no value to it. Because I can easily say you've picked items that aren't directly related to ICU staffing, and therefore why am I surprised when we can't, show any relationship?
Great. Thank you very much.